They haven't used their Terra yet. I want to just Fusion Flare Zamazenta and Heat Crash Lugia to break multi-scale, so I'm going to do that, but there are ways that they can maybe make this not as good a play. But they do just let Zamazenta drop to the Fusion Flare. Lugia takes a lot from that +2 Heat Crash and misses an Aeroblast and a Groudon, and they forfeit. All right, that's more like it. Welcome back to VGC Legends, the series where I spin a wheel of names and get a random starter legendary Pokemon that exists in Scarlet and Violet. I then quickly build a team with it on the spot, and I try it out on the VGC Regulation I ladder. I do this for a couple of reasons. One is because I just really like legendary Pokemon. I like their place in the lore of the series, and I want to give them a showcase. And the other is that by speed building a bunch of teams and laddering with them, and I have a fun and interesting time, some varied gameplay, maybe learn some things along the way. We started, I believe, with 62 legendary Pokemon. There are now exactly 50 left on the wheel. I am obviously ramping this up now that I'm running out of some of the other content I've been doing, but I do not know that we'll get to all of them before the end of Regulation I. But I'll try to get to a lot of them. Let's see what the wheel gives us today. So many possibilities, literally 50. Gen 5? Reshiram? Reshiram, okay, that's kind of a fun one. Yeah, I think I know what I can do with that. Okay, now when I think Reshiram, I think just stick it on a Sun team and blast away with Fire-type attacks, probably with a Choice Scarf. And then, like, Heat Wave, Fusion Flare, maybe Blue Flare, but I think Fusion Flare is strong enough for having significantly more accuracy. It is kind of appropriate that Groudon is looming in the background here, because I think I do want this to be a Sun team. In fact, Groudon might well be the second restricted on this team. I did, before I started recording again, open up Reshiram on Munch Stats here. This is a site where you can see VGC usage data, and lately I've run into a few people who seem to not know about Munch Stats and still be using Pikalytics, which in my experience in recent months is very outdated. But anyway, look at Reshiram's Munch Stats page here. Yeah, the common teammates are an interesting group of Pokemon. There is Groudon there, but then Farigiraf, Sableye, Yanmega, Cornerstone Mask, Ogerpon. Granted, Reshiram's usage is very, very low, right? As you'd expect. So probably someone was cooking something specific there. Now we get to Raging Bolt and Flutter Mane and Whimsicott. Those all make a lot of sense to me. I think I'm good with Groudon as the other restricted, probably, right? It sets up the Sun. It is I was going to say a slower physical attacker. They have the same base speed, but I think I will probably run a Choice Scarf on Reshiram. From there, as much as I don't want to fall down the Groudon, Hisui, and Lilligant rabbit hole like every single time I run a Sun team right now, I could see a Hisui and Lilligant fitting on this team. It could complement Reshiram nicely. What uses Wide Guard right now? Because if I want to spam Heat Wave, right, I need answers to Zamazenta, Lunala. Those are the big ones, aren't they? Sometimes we'll run into like a Frostmoth or an Araquanid or a Hitmontop, but not as often. Anyway, Hisui and Lilligant is kind of interesting. I'm not committing to it. Flutter Mane is interesting for sure. I think I probably am committing to Flutter Mane with a Focus Sash on this team. Raging Bolt I do like, for sure. It helps deal with Kyogre. And like Rapid Striker Shifu. I could run a Dark type on this team, maybe like a Single Striker Shifu. Now, at this point I've kind of haphazardly gathered some Pokemon together. I do think a Grass type is nice for complementing Reshiram. I don't know if Hisui and Lilligant is the best one. I could run Jump Bluff and get Tailwind, but that definitely changes some of the other calculations on the team. I could just run Whimsicott. That doesn't get Chlorophyll, but it doesn't really need it. I have Flutter Mane already for the Fairy typing. I'm just thinking about speed control. Okay, Reshiram and Groudon as the restricteds. So, in an ideal situation where I don't have Wide Guard or Fake Out to worry about, let's say I'm clicking Heat Wave, Precipice Blades. That's pretty good. Not really an obvious gap there in the coverage. I could run Jump Bluff. Tailwind with Scarf Reshiram, get the jump on some of the faster restricteds. Zacian, Shadow Rider. I do also have this to help with Shadow Rider and this. I think this is reasonable. I think this 6 is reasonable. I'll have to figure out the specific details. I mean, if I have the Focus Sash on Flutter Mane, then I can't put it on Urshifu. Presumably it's Covert Cloak on Jump Bluff. I could do Assault Vest Groudon, but probably I want Clear Amulet. Might even think about Swords Dance. Definitely Icy Wind on the Flutter Mane for that little bit more speed control. Raging Bolt could probably just have a Magnet, or an Assault Vest, maybe. If I'm not doing Assault Vest Groudon, then Assault Vest Raging Bolt. Is that good in this format? I don't know, but hey, I said I wanted to help this to help me deal with Kyogre. An Assault Vest ought to help with that. Yeah, Urshifu, if I don't have the Focus Sash available for it, maybe I just run Black Glasses. The equivalent of a Mystic Water Rapid Strike Urshifu, or I could run a Choice Band. I was going to say a Choice Scarf, but I have the Scarf on Reshiram already. But I think I would prefer that this Urshifu would be able to protect. So something like Black Glasses, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, Detect, Terra probably Dark. Raging Bolt. I don't know how you build an Assault Vest Raging Bolt in this format. I haven't before. In earlier formats, it would be something like Terra Fairy, Thunderclap, Thunderbolt, and then 2 of Snarl, Dragon Pulse, and Volt Switch. I think I like Snarl here. Do I? I feel like I kind of have enough Shadow Rider answers, as long as I play reasonably. Maybe like Dragon Pulse and Volt Switch is fine. I don't know, Snarl is worth thinking about. Flutter Mane probably has Moonblast, Shadow Ball, drop Dazzling Gleam, but I'm okay with that. Moonblast, it doesn't get Detect, it gets Protect. Moonblast is pretty valuable, probably max speed, get the speed boost. Jump Bluff could have something like Tailwind. What else does Jump Bluff run? Let's go to Munch Stats. Let's go to the Munch Stats page for Jump Bluff, actually. They typically run Tailwind, Sleep Powder, Encore, Rage Powder. Some have Pollen Puff. I don't like the idea of not running an attack on it. I'm still a little bit more allergic to running any Pokemon with no attacks than a lot of players are. I don't never do it, but not my favorite thing. So I probably do want Pollen Puff. I'll drop Encore for that. So Sleep Powder, Rage Powder, Pollen Puff. I kind of would like to have a Grass Attack, but I guess the utility of Pollen Puff with the potentially a bulky Raging Bolt. I don't know how I'll EV the Groudon yet. Swords Dance Groudon, then I do like a little bit more if Jump Bluff has the option to give it some recovery. And I can just do like Precipice Blades, Heat Crash, Protect, Terra Fire, Jump Bluff, probably Terra Dark. Dark or Steel, right? But Dark is nice for the Prankster immunity. Flutter Mane, probably Fairy. And then Reshiram, probably Terra Fire just to maximize damage. Heat Wave, Fusion Flare. I could run Zekrom as the other restricted and do the fusion combo, but I don't think it's worth it. Heat Wave, Fusion Flare. Does it get Earth Power? It does. Maybe I do Terra Ghost, because I don't have priority blocking on this team. Honestly, Farigiraf might be good on this team. Maybe I should run Farigiraf instead of Urshifu. It still helps with Shadow Rider Calyrex. How do I beat Ice Rider Calyrex? I have a few things. Honestly, Farigiraf might be worth it on this team, but I think I am just going to do Terra Ghost Reshiram. Now, you know what? If Reshiram gets faked out, it gets faked out. Terra Fire. Maximize damage. Draco Meteor. I probably want Draco Meteor, right? And, yeah, probably Earth Power for the last slot. I swear Scorching Sands never burns. It's also just not that strong. Weather Ball is the same as Fusion Flare and Sun, and otherwise worse. Except for like niche situations where a water type one is beneficial into a rain team or something. Reshiram gets Tailwind. I didn't remember that. If I weren't running a Choice Scarf, that might be interesting to think about, but I do think I want the Choice Scarf. It's probably Earth Power. Does it not get Solar Beam? That's right, I forgot. I had a Reshiram Sun team. I can't remember if I said this already. I had a Reshiram Sun team in one of the Sword and Shield restricted formats with like Torkoal and I was going to say Mega Venusaur, but Gigantamax Venusaur. I think I learned then that Reshiram couldn't learn Solar Beam, and I was surprised by that. Anyway, the team will look something like this. You'll find out in a moment if I make any changes. I'll just whip up some quick EV spreads, and then we will go to the battles. Alright, yeah, nothing new here. I filled in every move and item before the cut, which I don't think I usually do, but it felt pretty straightforward this time. It did occur to me that it would be valuable to have Sunny Day somewhere on the team, but there's not really room for it. Maybe on Jump Bluff, but what move would I drop? So, no, it's exactly as you saw. Let's make Reshiram shiny, and we'll jump on the ladder. Oh, first opponent has a Hitmontop. I did call that out as one of the possible wildcard users. It also gets Fake Out, which is a little bit not my favorite thing to have to deal with here. Yeah, this team looks tricky for sure. There's not a lot that they have. Much Groudon lead. I kind of think I don't bring Reshiram to this game. I kind of think I bring. Well, I was gonna say Jump Left to match Tailwind, but if I don't really have anything to take advantage of the Tailwind except Reshiram. Maybe I just lead Groudon Reshiram, right? Overpower most of their possible leads, Jump Left to match Tailwind, and then Urshifu to help deal with the Terapagos. And the Hitmontop actually could be a problem, but they lead Calyrex Rillaboom. The Rillaboom threatening Fake Out is not great. Of course, Terra Ghost wouldn't really be helpful here because then the Calyrex would just kind of cook me. I'll take a little bit of a risk here. If they Fake Out Reshiram, I accomplish nothing this turn. They do. Okay. Probably should have seen that coming. Well, I kind of did, but I played into it anyway. Reshiram survives the turn, though. I'm going to go for the Terrifier. I want to get as much damage as I can on this Heat Wave. And I'll throw off a Precipice Blades too. That'll catch Rillaboom if it goes Terrifier. It doesn't, but it Grassy Glides. And then Shadow Rider Calyrex outspeeds the Scarf Reshiram. Alright. Not a great start. Put it mildly. I would have liked Jump Left to survive that turn so that I could Pollen Puff the Calyrex to break the sash that it probably has, but nope, just gets swept by Shadow Rider Calyrex here. Let's try not to let that happen again, but that is how we're starting this one off. Hopefully Reshiram will get a chance to burn through some teams still. We got a Lugia team here. Oh, Ditto too. Ditto is tricky to deal with, although of course if it turns into Reshiram then we speed tie at worst. The rest of this team looks pretty fusion flareable. How do I deal with the Lugia? Putting it to sleep isn't the worst idea. I could leave Groudon Jump Bluff, save Reshiram in the back to take advantage of Sun and Tailwind. And then I could bring Urshifu, but I think somebody else might be more valuable here. Blood remains probably decent here. It can at least do something probably, at least with the Focus Sash helping it take a hit if need be. They lead Lugia, Rillaboom, so the Fake Out is on the table. Protect Groudon. I have Covert Cloak on the jump bluff. I'll just click Sleep Powder into Goat here immediately. They do go for the Fake Out into Groudon. Get the sleep. I think I can Terrastalize Groudon. I'm gonna go for a Sword Stance, and I was gonna say Hard Switch to Reshiram, but I think I want Tailwind first. I take that Grassy Glide, no problem now. Goat wakes up at the earliest opportunity, just misses the KO on Jump Bluff with the Aeroblast, so I can, if I want, I can Heat Crash Rillaboom, and I can, if I want, Sleep Powder Lugia again. No, they'll knock out Jump Bluff with a Grassy Glide. Fair enough. Trade that for Rillaboom. They get their own Tailwind, but I get my Scarf Reshiram in now. With a couple more turns of Sun, a couple more turns of Tailwind. Zamazenta's here, so Wide Guard is on the board for them. They haven't used their Terra yet. I want to just Fusion Flare Zamazenta and Heat Crash Lugia to break multi-scale, so I'm going to do that, but there are ways that they can maybe make this not as good a play. But they do just let Zamazenta drop to the Fusion Flare. Lugia takes a lot from that +2 Heat Crash and misses an Aeroblast into Groudon, and they forfeit. Alright, that's more like it. Saw that Fusion Flare go off and just wipe out one of the best restricted Pokemon in the game. You love to see it. That's what I want to see from Reshiram. I mean, some Heat Waves would be nice too. This opponent also might have Wide Guard, but they also have Rhyperior. And Shadow Rider Calyrex. And possible Tailwind from the Roaring Moon. Confirmed Tailwind from the Roaring Moon. Assault Vest Rhyperior. Terra Water. So Reshiram is never doing much to that. They also have a Trick Room mode, which they might want to bring against me. How do I cover for that and also cover for the Tailwind stuff? Well, isn't that the question? Deity, Ogre, Pawn. If I lead Reshiram Groudon, then I'm vulnerable. If I lead Reshiram Groudon, then I'm vulnerable to a Calyrex lead. If I lead Jump Bluff Groudon, they pretty much get Trick Room for free on that. I'll lead Reshiram Groudon. I'll bring Fluttermane to try to deal with a Calyrex afterward, and I kind of want to bring Raging Bolt to also help deal with Calyrex, but given that the Rhyperior is actually a pretty significant threat here, I think I'll go Urshifu. Roaring Moon, Ogre Pawn. Alright. All that, and I didn't bring my own Tailwind. Something had to give, I guess. I'll just Heat Wave and Precipice Blades here. They do have Power Whip. If they want to click that, they can miss. Yeah, just get what damage I can this turn and try to figure it out, but it's probably going to be a tough position from here. The Shadow Rider Calyrex is a massive threat. Although both of my Pokemon in the back are helpful into it, less so in the Fluttermane's case if it has Tailwind and I don't. Reshiram just gets dropped by an Ivy Cudgel there. Groudon gets some damage off. I think I go Fluttermane here. I think Icy Wind. Icy Wind is my only spread move, is the thing. Probably want to protect the return of their Tailwind. Go knock off into Groudon. Ivy Cudgel, so they double into Groudon there. And probably anticipated that I would Terrastalize it. Of course, that creates a mind game on whether I should Terrastalize it now. I think I'll just take the KO on the Roaring Moon, deny them another Tailwind. Quick Precipice Blades. They Knock off Groudon again. Do they Ivy Cudgel again? They Ivy Cudgel Flutter Mane this time. Knock it down to the Sash. But we take out Roaring Moon. Do we take out Ogre Pawn? No, we missed the Precipice Blades. Okay. Why didn't I click Heat Crash there? I had a reason. It was because I thought the Ogre Pawn might follow me. And then the Moonblast would go into Ogre Pawn and the Heat Crash would go into Roaring Moon. I didn't like that. Shadow Rider Calyrex is here. Don't much like that either, but I can protect through the last turn of Tailwind. And then I still have one more turn where Flutter Mane is faster. They can protect through that, so maybe I want to look to pivot Groudon out. Can I get away with that? Maybe, if they're clicking attacks that are resisted by my Urshifu in the back. And I'll go Icy Wind here. Get Urshifu in. They might protect Calyrex and knock out Flutter Mane, which would not be great. Maybe I should have Moonblasted the Ogre Pawn. Oh, Icy Wind still KOs. Okay. I get Zamazenta in here. Kind of want to go right back to Groudon and Shadow Ball the Calyrex. They did not Terra yet, right? It is Terra Ghost. Okay, so I can Shadow Ball it. Do they have Wide Guard? They do. So probably don't want to Icy Wind here. I'm not sure I've thought through the end game here, but the Calyrex just protected. They didn't Wide Guard. I get 2 KOs. Yeah, I didn't think this all the way through because Urshifu loses to Zamazenta now. It'd be nice if I still had Reshiram to delete it with Fusion Flare, but I don't. I'm going to say that they protect the cat. Doesn't matter, right? Zamazenta will 2-shot Urshifu. Well, maybe I crit. I'm going to say that they protect the Calyrex this turn. They don't. They go for Encore for no reason. Oh, well, to play around a Sucker Punch. That's why they went for Encore. But I thought they would protect around... I guess they can't protect around a Sucker Punch because of Unseen Fist. Doesn't matter. I went for the attack into Zamazenta and just got 1-shot. Okay. Hey, undefeated when Reshiram actually puts in some work so far, and winless when it doesn't. Reshiram truly is the key to this team. Here we get our first Rain team. This one also has Rhyperior. I feel like Rhyperior is a Pokemon that I really am seeing here and there on the ladder these days. I mean, I get that it's a Miraidon tech, but yeah, I definitely see it more often than I'd expect. Anti-Miraidon tech, I should say. Okay. Yeah, this is where Sunny Day could come in handy, because Reshiram is pretty strong into, well, it's pretty strong into like 2 of these mons. I think I want Raging Bolt here. It does have certainly Rhyperior issues. Rhyperior gives Kyogre a lot of cover from electric types generally, I guess. Maybe I can get Groudon going, but then again, this is where it would be useful to have Sunny Day Jumpluff or something. I don't know. It's hard to narrow Jumpluff down to 4 moves. I have not yet clicked Rage Powder. Maybe I didn't need that one. Kind of want to lead Groudon Jumpluff. I probably want to switch Groudon in turn 1 instead of leading it. I can do Jumpluff. Okay, relax. I could do Jumpluff, Flutter Mane, Groudon, Reshiram, or Raging Bolt. I didn't bring the Reshiram. I don't think I like it. I think I meant to bring Reshiram instead of Flutter Mane, but I did get low on time there. Yeah, it happens. Nope. Not in front of Urshifu. I think I want to Moonblast someone. And with Raging Bolt in the back, I think someone is Urshifu. They go Kyogre. What does Urshifu go for? Oh, Terra Fire. Didn't see that one coming. I do get my Tailwind, and now I'll get Groudon. The Urshifu has made itself weak to the Precipice Blades. I can probably go for Sleep Powder into Kyogre. This might be a good turn for Swords Dance, but let's just get damage on Walking Wake here and Kyogre. Kyogre protects. Okay, fair enough. I think I can just do that again. This is fast Groudon. I don't know the speed interaction off the top of my head. They get Zamazenta. Of course, I can't click Wide Guard this turn. I miss a Sleep Powder. Do knock out Walking Wake. They can get Kyogre back in now. I still have Tailwind up. I can maybe switch to Raging Bolt and Sleep Powder Zamazenta. I think that's reasonable. Okay. They go for Water Spout. That does a lot to Raging Bolt. Jeez. But now I know that they didn't bring Rhyperior to this game. So I'll go for another Tailwind and keep the Kyogre honest with the Thunderclap. Yeah, they play around the Thunderclap, but I do get Tailwind back up. Zamazenta wakes up immediately. That's really unfortunate for me. I am all in on Groudon from here, and they can switch Kyogre out and back in, but they probably want to anyway because they just protected, and I have my Tailwind turns left still. So anticipating that, I'm going to Sleep Powder the Zamazenta slot. They also can Wide Guard and get Urshifu in on the Precipice Blades, though. So I'm going to Sleep Powder the Zamazenta slot, and this is where I'll Swords Dance. Yeah, there's the Wide Guard. We land the Sleep Powder, get the Swords Dance. Thinking about whether there's anything I want to cover for here. I think I can just go for another Sleep Powder into this slot, cover for a switch. No. Sash Urshifu. So Pollen Puff, cover for Sash Urshifu. So Pollen Puff, Precipice Blades. Crit the Pollen Puff, that's funny. Miss the Blades into Kyogre. Kyogre now can protect through the last turn of Tailwind, which isn't great because that'll also stop Sleep Powder. I'll Sleep Powder it anyway. And Precipice Blades. Yeah, might have been just unlucky enough to lose this one. We missed the Sleep Powder into the Blades into Zamazenta there too. It is fast Groudon. Let's see. Nice. Nope, not nice. We missed the Kyogre again. Oh, Groudon. Well, just as well, I guess, that I used Eruption Groudon in Groudon's own video. What a fraud, my opponent says. I assume referring to Groudon, but I don't know. This opponent's been a little rude, so... Oh, no. What a fraud. Spent 2 minutes picking to lose. That is really disrespectful. I think it's, you know, it's mild enough that I'm not going to report it or anything, but, that is not the way to be on Showdown, or, you know, pretty much anywhere. Don't be like this person. Anyway, I'll try to get... That's 3 losses, but I'll try to get Reshiram going in another game. Also, that loss was Groudon's fault. What a fraud. Not really. Groudon isn't the best it's ever been, but it's not a fraud. But the rain was getting in its eyes or something that game. Glad I used Eruption Groudon in the Groudon video. Here's another Lugia team. Do you think this person will yell at me if I use the time that I'm entitled to make my picks? Who's to say? They have Okidogi, Garganacl. They actually have a lot of odd choices here that I might want to think about. I mean, it looks like a very bulky, setup-focused team. Maybe not the easiest to just smoothly cook with Reshiram, especially since they have the Kyogre. I could try leading Groudon Jumpluff, go for Swords Dance stuff, but I definitely want to get Reshiram into this game. And Urshifu to crit things, I think. Oh, you know, I took a little bit of time and thought that one through, and my opponent didn't have anything rude to say about it. That's nice. Yeah, let's try to Sleep Powder this Lugia immediately. They could have Fake Out on Grimmsnarl, but I haven't been seeing much of that lately, so if they do, good for them. They got me. Of course, Jumpluff has a Covert Cloak, so they can really only flinch Groudon. That doesn't deny the Sleep Powder. And denying the Swords Dance is not the end of the world for me. Wow, look at this person actually using the time that the game allows them to have. Because it's been deemed a reasonable amount of time. Terra Grass Lugia, I haven't seen that one before. How strong is Heat Crash into it? I think Lugia is probably pretty heavy. Not that heavy. +2 Heat Crash? and Tailwind. Let's see. That's with multi-scale though, and Reflect. Another one should do it. Foul Play, Grimmsnarl. That's a bit rough for me. Heat Crash, Sleep Powder into Grimmsnarl seems pretty safe though. I would like to get Reshiram in, but I don't think I need to do that right now. They also, yeah, okay, they show the Kyogre. This is awkward because I don't know if it's ever worth it to switch Groudon out here. I would like to get Reshiram in with Sun. Also, I don't know how I beat this anyway, now that they've... The Kyogre makes a lot of sense now that I know it's Terra Grass Lugia. Because that covers the fire weakness so nicely. I'm just going to Pollen Puff and Precipice Blades. It's resisted by Lugia, but it should do a lot to Kyogre. If it hits, and it does. Lugia goes for Recover. But I can play the Recovery game too, and maybe I can stall out the Rain. We'll see. But I'll just Pollen Puff and Precipice Blades again. Not sure still how I get Reshiram into this game. Groudon's back to full. Amoonguss takes about half. Jumpluff is knocked out at the end of my Tailwind. No more Tailwind for me. Let's go Urshifu. Groudon is faster, so if Amoonguss clicks Rage Powder, it should, as long as I hit my Precipice Blades, that should knock out Amoonguss, then I can still get a Wicked Blow into Lugia. Yep, perfect. Precipice Blades crit Lugia too. Lugia does survive, lands a Hurricane into Urshifu. Hurricane Lugia, another reason it's paired with Kyogre, clearly. I'm going to have to bring Reshiram in while the Rain is still up, but it is the last turn of Rain. They can pivot Kyogre around. They might go... Good chance they go Grimmsnarl here, actually. So locking Reshiram into a fire attack doesn't feel great, but locking it into Draco Meteor feels worse, so I think it is just going to be Heat Wave or Fusion Flare. And let's put some Fusion Flare on this by locking into Fusion Flare. That was terrible. Terra Fire too, get what damage I can. Knock out the Lugia. Knock out the Grimmsnarl through the Reflect, but now Kyogre comes in just in time to set the Rain back up. Oh yeah, it's at low HP and asleep, I forgot. Fusion Flare. Oh, wakes up. Scarf Ogre. Knocks out both of my Pokemon. Shouldn't have Terra Fired the Reshiram, I guess. And... well, we're going to leave it at that. Reshiram, honestly, I knew it wasn't good, but I was hoping it would do more than we saw here. Funnily enough, Groudon was a lot more successful with Scarf Fire-type damage than Reshiram was in back-to-back videos. But we got a couple Fusion Flare KOs. We take those, and who knows what the wheel might give me next time. Maybe I'll come up with a really fun and powerful team.